Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Definition, and this video we're breaking down The Old God on Netflix. The Charlize Theron movie has just dropped today, and there's a lot to unpack from it. Throughout this video, we'll be going through everything you need to know about the film, including its ending, the source material that inspired it, and where the franchise could be going. There will be heavy spoilers here, so if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, then I highly recommend that you check out now. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for videos like this every day, and as always, please drop a thumbs up as it massively helps us out. With that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into our breakdown of The Old God. Okay, so The Old God is based on the comic book of the same name by Rucka and Leandro Fernandez. The 2017 release gained a lot of critical acclaim at the time, and it's been a quick turnaround taking this from comic to comic book movie in a matter of years. It's easy to see why too, and the source material stands head and shoulders above a lot of other releases due to its unique concept. Like the original work, the movie follows a group of immortal mercenaries that travel the world completing jobs. They're basically like the True Knot from Dr. Sleep, but not a bunch of chumps that I absolutely hate. Now we as humans sort of gain purpose in life by knowing that time is of the essence. However, when it comes to the characters in The Old God, they live pretty lonely lives due to merely existing through the ages and knowing countless people that have died. They are clearly tired of it, and some ways it's like they just want things to end whilst also being attached to their lives. This is exemplified by the line that opens the film, in which Andromache of Scythia, or rather Andy, played by Charlize Theron, says that she's exhausted. Andy dates all the way back to ancient Greece, and two of the other members were on opposing sides of the Crusades. These actually ended up as lovers and are called Nikki and Joe, whilst the Final Immortal is called Booker. Booker was a deserter during the Napoleonic War, and this kinda plays into his arc. Now there are some caveats to their immortality, and Rucka added a neat little twist to their abilities. Whilst they can heal from pretty much any wound, they can also die, and they themselves are unaware of whether the next thing that happens to them will be the one thing that finally ends their life. So they still fight for every moment, and that's why we don't really see them wading into things without a strategy. This uncertainty adds tension to the work, and thus makes for a gripping read. They also dream of one another, which we'll discuss in just a bit, but yeah, there's a lot going on. Now that's pretty much the basic premise, and the movie follows in the footsteps of the original work, with us predominantly following Andy and three other members of the Undying Warriors as they become targets. The group have been lying low for some time, keeping incognito as much as possible. However, they've drawn the attention of people who wish to possess their gifts, namely a man called Copley. Copley is an ex-CIA agent whose wife died of ALS, and this drove his wish to try and discover the secrets to immortality so that others wouldn't have to suffer like she did. Copley hires them for a rescue mission in order to save some school children that were kidnapped by militia. Upon arriving there though, the warriors discover it's a setup, walk into a kill box, and are pretty much wiped out by the SWAT team there. However, due to their abilities they survive and strike back using the weapons that they've collected over the aeons, such as an axe, sword and dagger. It's a brilliant way to kickstart the movie, and though the situation is something that you've probably seen a million times in Hitman movies before, because of the unique story of the Immortals, it adds something to the plot that we haven't really seen since Highlander. It's here that we're introduced to Nile, who recently discovered that she's immortal, and the character becomes the audience's eyes and ears as we learn about the group. Now the Old God is actually a nickname for the oldest active duty regiment in the US Army. We learn that each of the members served in a war at some point, and due to their immortality, the nickname stuck. Copley wants to make their abilities a commodity by selling their secrets to a scientist named Merrick that is obsessed with prolonging his life and others. It's Dudley, I'll get you Dudley! However, as we learn, immortality is just as much a curse as it is a gift. Now, I was very excited for this film, and unfortunately, I'm not sure if it completely delivers upon the promise of the graphic novel. Bar Andy, the characters on the whole just seem slightly mundane, and for people that have had long and rich lives, they seem rather, uninteresting. They sort of don't really do their page counterparts justice, and yet, for me, the film felt a bit meh at certain points. This idea of living through wars, constant loss and healing from every injury has of course been discussed with Wolverine and the X-Men franchise, and I feel like it was done to much greater effect there. I know they have to kinda explain how things work for an audience that isn't aware of what's going on, but as someone who already knew, I did find the opening rather slow paced, and if you have an idea of how things are, you will likely feel that Niall is just learning of the group simply so the story can go through the motions early on. That's not to say it's bad, I just felt that when compared to its comic book counterpart, it was the slow god instead of the old god. Yeah, my puns, they were never the best. Now, Theron, as always, brings her A-game, and the Oscar winner is clearly one of the most capable actors out there. She can pretty much do it all, and after Atomic Blonde really stepped into the role of an action star with ease. She definitely carries the movie and makes for a great mentor to Niall. We also learn about the past that they've faced and how difficult it is to be different in a world that wants everyone to be the same. It's torturous seeing some of the things that they've ended up going through, such as an Iron Maiden that led to one member called Quinn spending centuries drowning over and over. Andy and Quinn were close, and she promised to find the character one day, but never managed to, which led to the latter facing centuries of pain that eventually drove her insane. Now, I'll talk about how Quinn reappears at the end, as there's stuff we need to discuss, but it's definitely something to bear in mind. Overall, the group have lost everyone they've ever loved, and there's definitely pain laced throughout their memories. These aspects are far more interesting than the main plot itself to me, and I wish they'd spent more time in these moments rather than the present, which is basically just a run and gun storyline. Either way, you can really start to see the downside of immortality through this, and the state of guilt, misery, and fear that they constantly live in. This comes to boiling point when Copley launches an attack on the group and they kidnap Nikki and Joe, which forces the others to go after them. Now we see firsthand through Merrick that, if you're immortal, people inevitably want to take it from you, and this leads to you being hunted, which means the life you have becomes bad, so there was no point of being immortal in the first place. The undying are the ones left behind, rather than the lucky ones that get to die, and it's definitely the film's most interesting aspect. After the attack by Copley, Andy realizes that she's no longer healing, and you also see how Copley realizes he's made a deal with the devil. Merrick is willing to subject them to all kinds of suffering in order to get what he wants, and yeah, he's really not a good dude. "I'll get you, Dudley!" Now Niall questions whether she wants this life or not, and leaves to spend time with her family while she still can. Upon leaving, she realizes that Booker double-crossed them due to giving both her and Andy an empty gun. Booker has of course lived in misery for centuries, and he's realized that if they can discover how to make people immortal, they can also end his life. Andy is shot and she doesn't heal, but she's still bundled up with Booker and taken to the lab. Merrick knocks out Copley, and Niall stumbles across him. It's here that we learn that, though Andy believes she doesn't really have a purpose in life, that the countless number of people that she's saved over the centuries has had massive ramifications on the world. This ties into the saying that the one that saves one life saves the entire world, and though Andy didn't intentionally select these people, the fact that she saved so many showed her actions eventually led to things being good, even though she viewed her actions as being bad and the world is getting worse. Niall heads out to rescue the group, and using her immortality, she's able to fight her way through Merrick's forces. She frees the group, which leads to a finale that has an all-out shootout with Merrick's forces. I'll bloody get you, Dudley. Now, I love how Andy uses a fire axe instead of her regular one, and there's some amazing bits of combat as Andy goes out swinging in what could be her last dance. It's immortal combat with a lot of fatalities, and it definitely picks up the pace for the final act. Andy realizes that, upon being faced with death, that things are actually worth fighting for, and as Merrick arrives, Niall aims a gun at her to distract him so that she can attack him with the axe, allowing Niall to grab him and throw them both out of a skyscraper window. It's an awesome way to kill off that bloody Dudley, and it saves Andy's life. The group decide what to do with Booker, and Niall has a tough choice to make. She can either make it look like she was killed in action to save her parents the pain that comes with being immortal, or go and see them and make the most of the time she has left with them. They ostracize Booker from the group for 100 years, which he will spend alone, and Andy says her goodbyes to him, knowing that she likely won't live long enough to see him back with the group. they reunite at Copley's house and see the collage he's put together of all the positive ways that they've benefited humanity over time. It finally gives them purpose and makes them realize that they can no longer lie low and have to tackle things head on and change the world in a positive way by stepping into the light instead of hiding in the shadows. Copley will cover up what they do, but no doubt they will finally make a change for the better. Now Andy is of course in danger due to no longer being immortal. However, I think that because of Merrick's work, they will find a way to stabilize her condition once more, and if there is another film, I do believe that the subplot will center around her taking her abilities back. The movie sort of has an extra scene in it, in which we see Booker 6 months later in Paris, drinking himself to death, well not death, but he's greeted by Quinn, who we see has escaped from the Iron Maiden. Now the movie adapts the Old Gods storyline opening Fire, which started its 5-issue run in 2017. Following this, the creative team planned a trilogy off the back of it, with the second storyline being called Force Multiplied. The film changes things slightly, as in the original run, Quinn was called Noriko, but I think they switched this up so that fans of the comics would have some surprises for the movie. In the source material, Noriko and Andy were lovers, and they spent time sailing around the world on a ship. However, Noriko was swept away by the ocean, and she spent centuries drowning and resurrecting over and over again, which is similar to what we see in the film. The character wants revenge for Andy never coming to save her, and though the latter just wants to talk things through, Noriko wants blood. This leads to a big battle that spills over publicly and ends up drawing the attention of the FBI. Now as of making this video, the 5th and final issue has not been released and it's due to come out on the 15th of July, so if you have read it, then let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. The creative team behind the work have said they're planning a trilogy, so there's definitely a lot of things to look forward to in regards to the franchise if a sequel goes ahead. Now before we get into the rest of the video, I just want to let you know we're giving away a free copy of the MCU Infinity Saga box set to one random subscriber. All you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts on the film in the comment section below. The winner is going to be chosen at random on the 15th of July, and the set will be shipped out from then to whoever gets the prize, so best of luck to everyone who takes part. Okay, now what did I think of the movie? Well, I found it a bit inconsistent, with the first hour being very bland before the second half really delivered on what I wanted to see. Because of this, the film was a bit unbalanced. However, Charlize is brilliant in it, as are the action and flashback scenes. It really does discuss a lot of elements that I'd want to see in a film about Immortals, but I don't think it completely knocks it out of the park. In comparison to other comic book movies out right now, it falls slightly short, and even out of the few that have been released this year, I think it probably ranks below them all, and that's including Bloodshot. Saying that though, it is definitely worth watching. There are a lot of interesting avenues that they can take the franchise in the future. It's not one I'm going to rush back to watch, but overall I'd say I enjoyed it more than I didn't, and thus it scores a 7 out of 10. Now obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Old Gods, so make sure you comment below and let me know. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a thumbs up. If you want something else to watch that's Netflix related, then make sure you check out our breakdown of Dark, which is going to be linked at the end. We go over the crazy ending of the show and everything we took from it, so it's definitely worth checking out if you want to know more. If you want to support the channel from as little as 99 cents a month, then please click the join button below. We massively appreciate it, and as a thank you, you get access to content early. If you want to come chat to us after the show, either follow us at Heavy Spoilers or click the Discord link in the description below. Those are the best ways to keep up to date with the channel, and hopefully we see you over there very soon. And with all that out of the way, I've been Definition, you've been the best, I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace, 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 peace.